Hi, hello friends. Immunity just read off பண்ணிக்கலாம் நம்ம. ஸோ ஒரு சில அதை மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் ரீட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். அப்படியே அதிலிருந்து நம்ம கொஷின் அண்ட் ஆன்சர் கேதர் பண்ணிக்கலாம். ஸோ இம்யூனிட்டி சாப்டர், இம்யூனாலஜி சாப்டர் 7, பேஜ் நம்பர் 69. So author name Narayan and Paniher's Microbiology. So sources of infection. The sources of microorganisms that cause infections can be one of the following. Humans are either by animals or by insects or by environment. So sources of infection either by humans or animals or insects or by environment. What is carrier? A carrier is a person who harbors the pathogenic microorganism without suffering any ill effect because of it. They may be one of the following types: healthy carrier or convalescent carrier. The healthy carrier means one who harbors the pathogen but has not suffered from the disease caused by the pathogen. And convalescent carrier, one who has recovered from the disease and continues to harbor the pathogen in his body. Zoonosis. Infectious diseases transmitted from animals to human beings are called zoonosis. Zoonotic disease may be bacterial, example plague from rats, and viral, example rabies from dogs, and protozoal, example toxoplasmosis from cats, and helmintic, example hydatid disease from dogs. Fungal, example the infection may be from cats and dogs. Methods of transmission of infection. Direct contact. Infections may be occurred by direct contact, that is from person to person. For example, sexually transmitted disease such as syphilis and gonorrhea are transmitted by direct contact. Indirect contact. The mode of transmission of some infection may be through the agency of fomites, which are inanimate objects such as clothing, bedding, and towels, etc. Ingestion. Intestinal infection are generally occurred by the ingestion of food or drink contaminated by pathogens. Such infections may be waterborne, for example cholera, foodborne, food poisoning, or borne from unclean hands, dysentery. Inoculation. Pathogens may be introduced directly into the tissues through a breach in the skin and soft tissue. Some examples are tetanus spores implanted in deep wounds following penetrating injury contaminated by soil. Rabies virus deposited subcutaneously by a dog bite, and arboviruses injected by insect vectors. Adhesions. Attachment is called adhesion. Attachment of the bacteria to body surfaces is the first step in pathogenesis. This attachment is a specific reaction between surface receptor on host cell and adhesive structures called adhesions on the surface of bacteria. Endotoxins are heat-stable lipopolysaccharides which form an integral part of the cell wall of gram-negative bacteria. So, endotoxins are heat-stable lipopolysaccharides which form an integral part of the cell wall of gram-negative bacteria. Classification of infectious disease. An endemic infection is one that is constantly present in a particular area. Typhoid and malaria are endemic in most or some parts of India. An epidemic infection is one that spreads rapidly, involving many persons in an area at the same time. Influenza and dengue cause annual epidemics. The next one is a pandemic. A pandemic is an epidemic that spreads across many countries of the world, involving very large numbers of people within a short period. Influenza is a pandemic infection. And the last one is prosodemic infection. A prosodemic infection is a slow spreading infection transmitted from person to person. So, type of immunity: innate immunity and the acquired immunity. So, innate immunity, the other name is native immunity, and acquired immunity, its other name is adaptive immunity. Antibacterial substances in blood and tissues. Beta-lysine, a relatively thermostable substance active against anthrax and related bacilli. Basic polypeptides such as leucine extracted from leukocytes and plaquins from platelets. Acidic substances such as lactic acid found in muscle tissue and in the inflammatory zones. Lactoperoxidase in milk possesses antibacterial properties demonstrable experimentally. However, their relevance in the natural context is not clearly understood. An interferon, which has been shown to be more important than specific antibodies in the protection against and recovery from certain acute viral infection. Tissues and body secretion contain other antiviral substances. Cellular factors. Phagocytic cells, which engulf and destroy microorganisms and other foreign particles, were discovered by Metchnikoff in 1883. Macrophages, which are polymorphonuclear leukocytes, get rid of any possibly harmful microorganisms and other unwanted debris in the cells. The next one, macrophages, which includes monocytes, histiocytes, and fixed retinoendothelial cells, detect, engulf, and destroy pathogens and apoptotic cells. Macrophages are produced through the differentiation of monocytes. Mast cells release granules and powerful chemical mediators such as histamine, cytokines, granulocyte, macrophage, colony stimulating factor, leukotrienes, and heparin, and many proteases into the environment. Dendritic cells are antigen presenting cells which are found in tissues and skin. They are primary to the innate immune system. Mucosa associated lymphoid cells are abundant in the gut, including the oral and rectal mucosa. They have specialized pathway for antigen uptake. And the last one, natural killer cells. Natural killer cells, NK cells, are a class of lymphocytes important in non-specific defense. They selectively kill virus infected cells and tumor cells. NK cells are activated by interferons. Phagocytosis. Bacteria are phagocytes into a vacuole which was called phagosome, which fuses with the lysosomes found in the cell to form the phagolysosome. Artificial active immunity is the resistance induced by vaccines. Vaccines are preparation of live or killed microorganisms or their products used for immunization. Examples of vaccines are as follows: bacterial vaccines, live; BCG vaccine for tuberculosis; killed, cholera vaccine; subunit, typhoid VI antigen; bacterial products, TT, tetanus toxoid. And then viral vaccines, live, oral polio vaccine, Sabin; killed vaccine, injectable polio vaccine, SAC; subunit, hepatitis B vaccine. So local immunity, secretory immunoglobulin A is produced locally by plasma cells present on mucosal surfaces or in secretory glands. This indicates the existence of a common mucosal or secretory immune system. The term immunity refers to the resistance exhibited by the host towards injury caused by foreign antigen or microorganism and their products. Acquired immunity is of two types: active immunity, where the host produces its own response to foreign antigens to confer protection, and passive immunity, where preformed antibodies are introduced paranetrally, not by the oral route but by the intramuscular or intravenous route into the host to confer protection. So acquired immunity is of two types: active immunity, where the host produces its own response to foreign antigen to confer protection, and the next is passive immunity, where preformed antibodies are introduced parenterally, not by the oral route but by the intramuscular or IV route. It means intravenous route into the host to confer protection. Herd immunity is the immunity developed in a large proportion, 80% of individual in a population. This reduces likelihood of epidemics arising in that community by the pathogens. So herd immunity is the immunity developed in a large proportions of individual in a population. That's the point. Infection may be classified as primary infection, reinfection, secondary infection, focal infection, cross infection, endogenous infection, and apparent infection. Thank you, friends.